So this is Baruch here at the Tivin Elevator Kollel, and as promised, as we start to getting closer to Rosh Hashanah, today is the 15th day of Elul. So you can see there's a whole little chalois in the shadow of Rosh Hashanah coming. Now the Indian, what we're going to learn here is the third Rosh is the Indian and Nesira. Exactly what's going to be contained here, we're going to find out. As this going on, he says that I'm learning along with you. Although I have been through some of this before, not so well. Every time I learn it better. And I'm asking you to come along with me and see what's going on. Now, the idea of the Nesira is this very simply for for Zohar V'Nok to mate, to be able to reproduce or produce Nefashos or Neshamas Chadashos. They have to be face to face. But we've seen many times in Kabbalah that the Nukva is located on the back of Zer Anpin from his Chaza Ulamat, from his chest going down, where she's not his whole height, and she's back to back with him. That's for defensive reasons, because she's very vulnerable. And one of the concepts that we have here is that the Klipa it can attack her. She is more vulnerable, and as a result of that, the face is the stronger part. And so therefore her face is facing the klipos, which keeps the klipos away, so to speak, and her back is to Zer Anpin, she's back to back with him. The question is how do we get her around to the front and get her up to her full height so that she could be Zeicha to live with Zer Anpin? Now we're in the Olam Atzilus, and it has to do with us too. Not only is this a big event which occurs on Rosh Hashanah, starting on the first day, and as we've learned, the first day of Rosh Hashanah is dealing with the Penimius. It's a very interesting idea, the Penimius of Zer Anpin and the Nukva. And the second day is dealing with the Kitzonius. So we went to those little last shiurim they had. Let's get into this now, and let's see what's going on in the Indian and Nesira. He says, Avo Nishlam, the Boyer, Indian and Nesira. So now we're going to come and complete our explanation of the Indian and Nesira. Is Boyer B'Drash HaKodim that was explained in the previous Rosh. For the Chayin, the Boyer called Indian the service you made the Tshuva. So there along the way that we're going to explain all the 10 days of Tshuva. Shemin Rosh Hashanah, the Yom Kippur, they go from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, Ki Hinei, Indian and Nesira. Nimshechas be'esrim yom be'basari yom. It extends that idea of the Nesira, what it takes for the Nukva to be removed from the back of Zer Anpin around to his front. It takes 10 days. It goes through, his words are Nimshachas be'asari yomim Elul. So let's start looking a little bit. Let me see how it goes. A little bit at the at the Rav, the words of the Rav himself. It doesn't look like we have it in this volume that we have the Tiv interrupting at any place, so we'll have to figure it out ourselves. Let's just get going and see where it goes, and we'll read first the Rav, then we'll learn the Tiv of Gavanos. He says, he named his Bar B'Drash HaKodim, so we learned in the previous Rosh, Yinyan and Nesira he lahasir kol b'chinas hadinim ashecha ba'achre Zer Anpin. So the idea of the Nesira is to remove the aspect of dinim from the back of Zer Anpin. Where do they go to? El Nekeva, to the female aspect, the Malchus, which is what we said before on his back. V'yishar Zer Anpin be'bechidas chesed. So all the gevuros that were in Zer Anpin get transferred to the Nukva Zer Anpin, and Zer Anpin becomes complete chesed. V'nukva be'bechinas dinim, then the Nukva, he'll be chesed and she'll be dinim. V'achakach an ma'amtikin mebasvim as a dinim asher. Then after that, our job is to sweeten and perfume the dinim. That's interesting. I always think the word perfume is very interesting that you use it over here exactly how. Now let me pull this back because there we go. All right, we're getting a little bit afternoon light here. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Let me see. Well, it didn't make a whole lot of difference, but it made some difference. So let's see what we could do. Maybe it was a good thing. I don't know. Let's look at the Tiv Kavanos here. He says, La'achar Kama Bakdama. So now we went through and really learned some background about the nature of Pneumius, Kitzonius, and much, much more. So he said, "Kam b'chagdamos b'chem nizbar b'klalos inyan and Nesira. Nivar adach v'pratos as called inyan and Nesira." So now we want to explain in detail the entire inyan and Nesira. Shena'asis b'asaris yomim b'rosh Hashanah v'yom Kippurim. The Nesira takes that much of time, and we want to explain how it takes place. Now here we are. This is going to be the Yichud of the winter months, coming from the summer months and the winter months. I think that's what you call also the summer months are the female aspect, and the winter months are the male aspect. So behem nenas and aseres parts of nukve parts of zah. In this, she is removed and uprooted from the back of Zeranpin. Ayedei shachadinim and imsochim ba'achre Zeranpin, because why? The dinim are associated with the back sides, and the chasadim are associated with the front sides. So he says, Ayidei shachadinim and imsoim ba'achre Zeranpin. So on the back side of Zeranpin are dinim nifradim mizah. They leave Zeranpin, v'holkin the nook, and they go to the nook. And the hainu shachadinim b'sha'achre kesed Zeranpin. So let's say he says more specifically. Zeranpin, let's talk about him as 10 spheros from Keser down to Malchus. So he says the dinim sheba'achre Keser de Zeranpin, holkim the Keser de Nuk. They go to the Keser de Nuk. Or mikach nivnes at Keser de Nuk, and that's how the Keser of Nuk is built. He's telling us what the Nuk, that is Malchus, is made out of dinim, just like a mother fashions, shapes, and gives birth through a narrow opening her child. So that's the dinim of the female aspect. They go to the chachma the nook, and they're going to build her up. And this is how the sphere of chachma of the nook is built. Also, the other spheros in Zeranpin. So all of them, everything, the 10 spheros of the Zeranpin, starting from the top going down to the bottom, are all going to transfer their dinim to the nook, and he will therefore remain simply chasadim. Now he hasn't explained over here why Zeranpin would have both chasadim and gevuros. But we know that, in fact, that's where Zeranpin receives from Abba Ve'ima, from the left side, which is Ima, and the right side of Abba, dinim and chasadim. So therefore it spread throughout Zeranpin. He keeps the chasadim, and here we see that he moves them over to the nukva. So he says, let's go. So now going to number bet here, it says, Ayadesha nicer as a dinim most from the nook. So by removing his dinim and giving him over to the nook, and this looks like the word Nesira and Mosar are about the same. It means giving over or transferring in some way. Naas is there anpin kula chesed, he becomes kula chesed, but nuk kula din. And it's like two men. They have completely opposite ideas. They contradict each other. Even though they're neighbors. They live in the same neighborhoods. They're under the same influences. But nonetheless, they're so completely different. So they're always considered to be separate from each other, not together at all. So this, as you might want to think, is the same thing with their anpin and his nuk. Because once he's all chesed and she's all din, it causes with them a distance and a separation. Shazehu, so the Nesira, and this is the secret of the Nesira. Now you see right here in this, for those of us who are psychologists and study psychology, you see right here is the basic problem between human men and human women, which is just completely different functions, but nonetheless the attraction is very strong. So because they're really one body. It's a very strange thing. We're hearing it right here on our stage. So in number Gimel, he says, let me see where we're at now. Still okay. But as the gevuros start to grow next to the nukva, Then you understand that the nature of dinim, if they're not sweetened, and that really comes from chesed, the chesed of Zer Anpin. That's for the psychologists, it's to mention the book Garden of Peace, because he really using the principles of the Rav to tell you what the role of a man and the role of a woman is. The woman is the creator, but the man has to sweeten that. He has to give. He's a giver. She's a receiver. So it goes like that a little bit, pitcher and catcher. But Alkain Ola Nook, the parts of Ima, so therefore the Nook goes up to the parts of Ima by Yom Kippurim. This is what happens on Yom Kippur. The Hamtik HaGavuras, and what happens when you go into a different dimension, because the different dimension is not full of dinim like this one. So there she goes to sweeten the Gavuras, L'Shorshan Be'ima Elua in Ima Elua. V'sham Nimtakim V'Nizbasmim Adinim Shabbat, and there you see that they were sweetened, perfumed, her dinim, Kavavura B'Drash Yom Kippurim, and that's all part of the Drash of Yom Kippurim, but we're going to see a lot of this now, too. There's one more, let me see, Aleph, Beis, Gimel, here's Dalet, I guess. We got to go to the next little shtickle. So we'll take this a little bit slow because there's a lot here. So he says, and I want to know it better. This same Nesira takes place every day between Yaakov and Rachel, if you've heard us use those names before. Every day through the weekdays, it takes place between Yaakov and Rachel, and Olam Betzilus, during the Shemona Esrei. But anyway, let's go on. The Rav writes, V'da, ki b'drash ha-shofar, when we talk about the shofar, the Isbar Inyan and Nesira B'tachlis Abir, there, we're really going to ultimately get to the point of the Nesira, Avacha b'drash ha-shlishi, but on the third drush, Shel Chag HaSukkos over there, right? Sham Nizbar B'derek Katsara, Kol B'chidas HaDormita, there we explain all the concept of the deep sleep. V'chachivak B'smol, and the concept of the left arm hug, B'sod Smol L'Tachas Roshi, V'chanesira V'chibak Yomim, and then also the removal, as we said, or the transfer of, what's the right word? Moser means to give over, or to removal, that's it, the removal of the nukva, and we're going to talk about the hug on the right arm. That's going to be done really well. But there's going to be in a short version. So therefore you need to look over their hated. So therefore in all of these 10 days, Zun Omdim Ach Ba'ach, so through these 10 days, the Zocher V'Nuk, they remain back to back through the entire 10 days, from his chest downwards. So that you would not have to cause that the Malachas and Nesira should go all the way through Yom Kippurim. She is boyer. Now, something tells me I translate that wrong, so let me look at one more time. He does B'kol Asaras Yomim Elu, through the entire 10 days. We're talking about from Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippurim. Zun Ondim Ach Ba'ach. That's what he said. The Zun are standing back to back. Where are they? Minachazer Shalom Lamata. So she's from his chest going downwards. Now, I was thinking it's not like that. And the reason why, Lefi, since Shalot Nigbro Malachas and Nesira, because as long as Nesira is not complete, that's what he's saying, she's still in the back. At Yom Kippurim, until Yom Kippurim comes, and that's the time when she actually is separated, Kamoshi is boyer, and all of this is going to be explained as we go forward. Well, that's the shir for today in the Nesira. It's the opening idea in the shir Nesira. We know a few things about it, and ultimately, as we said before at the very beginning and in conclusion, to know that there is no reproduction of Shefa, of Bracha, without a Yichud of Zocher V'Nuk. And the Yichud of Zocher V'Nuk has to be done in this way, that she is on his back, and we said for defensive purposes, but as she comes around to the front, more and more Mochin of Godless are already coming into Zeranpin, and that's building everybody up. So we'll see how that works. How did they get in? What does it do? And the next time we're going to look at the typical bundles and try to take a little deeper look at it. This is Baruch Fleischman, Tikkun Elevator Kolo.